In the brutal spring of 1943, with the war dragging on and morale flagging, Britain was truly running out of time. They desperately needed a win, a decisive blow against Hitler's seemingly unstoppable war machine. And then, a civilian engineer, a quiet visionary, sketches a weapon that, frankly, shouldn't work. It's an idea as simple yet as audacious as skipping a stone across a pond. Yet, 133 young airmen, barely out of their teens, would bet their lives, everything they had, that this impossible gamble would pay off. Today, we're not just talking about a historical event, we're diving deep into the film that turned that audacious gamble into an enduring legend, etching it forever into the annals of wartime heroism and cinematic history. Let's set the scene. The industrial heartland of Nazi Germany, the mighty Ruhr Valley. This wasn't just any region, it was the very engine room powering Hitler's terrifying war machine. Imagine vast quantities of coal, mountains of steel, and an endless supply of electricity. Everything the Wehrmacht needed to fuel its tanks, build its planes, and forge its weapons. And right at the heart of this crucial industrial complex sat three behemoths: the Mona, the Eder, and the Sorp. These weren't just ordinary dams, they were colossal structures, so incredibly thick and reinforced that conventional bombs dropped from altitude would barely chip their concrete. They were engineering marvels, designed to withstand the very worst an enemy could throw at them. But the challenge didn't stop there. The Germans, ever vigilant, had taken extensive precautions. Torpedo nets, unseen beneath the water surface, blocked any direct attack from the water. Anti-aircraft guns, bristling with lethal intent, dotted the surrounding hillsides, ready to unleash a hellish storm of flak on any approaching aircraft. And the only viable approach? A treacherous, skinny moonlit canyon demanding pilots navigate at an astonishingly low treetop height. It was a suicide run, a mission so fraught with danger that Bomber Command, the very architects of strategic bombing, outright declared it unattackable. Enter Barnes Wallace, a civilian engineer, a man whose eyes, as the film so brilliantly portrays, shone with the kind of boundless, almost childlike enthusiasm for an idea that schoolboys dream up after too many skipping stones. He wasn't a military man, but he possessed a genius that would redefine what was considered possible in aerial warfare. His vision was audacious, simple, yet revolutionary, and it would soon capture the imagination and the desperate hope of a nation. Wallace wasn't just building a bomb, he was in essence choreographing a ballet dancer that could pirouette on water. His concept was brilliantly counterintuitive. A cylindrical bomb spun backward at an incredible rate, dropped with pinpoint precision at exactly 232 miles per hour from an almost impossible altitude of 60 feet. The idea was that this spinning motion would allow it to hop, skip, and bounce across the water's surface, sailing right over those pesky torpedo nets. Then, with a gentle kiss against the dam wall, it would sink to a predetermined depth, and only then would it detonate, unleashing its explosive power directly against the dam's foundations. The maths, Wallace insisted, was gorgeous, elegantly simple, yet profoundly complex in its execution. The early tests were predictably fraught with failure. A test bomb would skip, then tragically split apart, or simply plop into the water like a brick. At these moments, Wallace almost lost his war, his dream teetering on the brink of abandonment. Yet he didn't give up. The boffins, as they were affectionately called, tweaked the design, redefined the mechanics, and slowly, painstakingly overcame each hurdle. Eventually, the committee, perhaps swayed by the sheer desperation of the undeniable logic of Wallace's persistence, finally folded. And just like that, out of the urgency and sheer audacity of his idea, 617 Squadron was born. Its origins humble in a drafty makeshift Nissan hut, ready to undertake a mission that would redefine courage. Veteran with an outstanding 174 operations under his belt. Gibson was a fascinating blend of charm and flint in equal measures. He had the charisma to inspire, but also the steely resolve and ruthless efficiency to demand absolute perfection from his crews. His leadership was crucial, his presence almost mythic. Vital mission. There were the Canadians, known for their daring and skill, who could seemingly fly a massive Lancaster bomber under a telephone wire in the dead of night. Then came the Aussies, who treated danger with a casual disregard, almost as if it was just another spot of bad weather. And of course the Brits, driven by a quiet, grim determination to simply finish the job, whatever the cost. This wasn't just a squadron, it was a carefully curated collection of the best, the bravest, and the most audacious airmen the Allied forces had to offer. Their training was nothing short of brutal, designed to push both man and machine to their absolute limits. Imagine flying a 4-engine Lancaster, a behemoth of an aircraft, at an astonishingly low 100 feet in the inky blackness of night, with all lights forbidden. The altimeter was practically set to zero, and hedges rushed past the cockpit like speeding trains, mere feet beneath their wings. Their practice flying over English reservoirs, much to the bewilderment of locals who probably thought the war had finally came to picnic. The film absolutely nails the claustrophobia, the eerie glow of red cockpit lights, sweat beading on goggles, the tensed, hushed whispers of a navigator, up, up, as trees scraped the belly of the bomber. This wasn't just flying, it was an extreme test of nerve, skill, and trust, preparing them for a mission that would demand nothing less than perfection. Every simulated run, every near miss was a brutal lesson in the art of survival and precision. The night of May 16th, 1943, 19 Lancasters laden with their unique cylindrical payloads roared to life. The film masterfully builds the tension, the thunderous roar of the Merlin engines, the almost ethereal shimmer of the moonlight on the polished wings, and then, as they climb and turn towards enemy territory, an almost terrifying silence descends, broken only by the hum of the aircraft. This was it. Operation Chastise was on top flak over the Dutch coast. The German defences were formidable, and the low-level approach made them particularly vulnerable. One kite hit hard, limped home on 3 engines, a stark and immediate reminder of the mission's deadly stakes. But the challenges were just beginning. The second and perhaps most critical hurdle was the bomb drop itself. It had to be released with an astonishing 389 RPM backspin. Drop it too early or without that precise spin and it would simply plop into the water like a brick. A catastrophic failure. The film puts us right there, in the cockpit, feeling every tremor, every moment of agonizing suspense. With Mickey Martin dodging the weaving, blinding beams of searchlights, a dance of death in the night sky. We witness the tragic fate of Dingy Young, his Lancaster vanishing in a sudden, terrifying cone of fire swallowed by the darkness. And then the extraordinary bravery of Guy Gibson. As his mates struggled to line up for their runs on the Mon, he circled back, drawing the enemy flak towards his own aircraft, a selfless act of leadership that allowed others their chance. When the Mon wall finally cracked, the sheer force of the water exploding outwards was like a ruptured planet, a cataclysmic event that forever altered the landscape. The Eder followed, its ancient castle silhouetted against a monstrous 100-foot tidal wave that swept everything before it. The Sorp, however, held firm. The bouncing bomb simply wasn't designed for its earthen core, and we tragically lose 5 crews trying to breach it. By dawn, only 11 Lancasters managed to land back home. 53 brave men just hours ago, full of life and purpose, didn't come back. The film, with a profound and heartbreaking silence, lets the radios go quiet. No triumphant music, just the chilling static and a controller's hushed, almost desperate whisper. Acknowledge. Please, acknowledge. The human cost was immense, a stark counterpoint to the mission's success. The immediate aftermath of the raid was devastating. Factories were drowned, bridges vanished, and an estimated 1,600 civilians perished, a tragic toll, with many of them being forced labourers. German war production in the Ruhr Valley did indeed dip significantly for about 2 months, but it recovered with surprising speed. However, for Britain, the propaganda score was enormous. The nation desperately needed a win, a moral boost in a war that had seen too many defeats and too much despair. And the newspaper gave it to them in floods in celebratory headlines. It was a victory, not just of engineering, but of spirit. For those involved, the consequences varied. Barnes Wallace, the visionary engineer, received a £7,000 bonus, a substantial sum for the time, yet with a characteristic sense of humility and perhaps even guilt over the human cost. He reportedly spent it on a bigger wind tunnel, continuing his work, his mind already on the next engineering challenge. Guy Gibson, the heroic leader, was awarded the Victoria Cross, the highest military decoration for gallantry. But the war wasn't over for him. He returned to operations, and tragically, a year later, at the tender age of 26, he was killed in action. The film ends on that poignant, haunting note. Empty chairs in the mess hall. The relentless clacking of typewriters churning out condolence letters, and the powerful, stirring echoes of the Dambusters' march. A melody forever linked to sacrifice. Still, the film's portrayal of its key figures is exceptional. Michael Redgrave's Wallace perfectly captures the engineer's obsessive hunch, his quiet intensity, and his unwavering belief in his seemingly impossible idea. And Richard Todd's Gibson could stride straight out of a 1943 newsreel, embodying the stoic courage, the youthful authority, and the immense burden of leadership that defined the real Guy Gibson. The film isn't just a historical document, it's a powerful human drama, a testament to ingenuity, courage, and sacrifice. If this incredible story, this blend of scientific audacity and human bravery skipped across your curiosity the way the upkeep skipped across the water, then you absolutely must tap that subscribe button. We'll drop more forgotten history, more untold tales of courage and innovation in videos to come. And if there's anyone out there, especially descendants of the incredible men of 617 Squadron, please drop your comments. They are always welcome. We read and cherish every single one. The dams, those monumental symbols of German industrial power, were rebuilt within months. But the legend forged on that moonlit night, immortalized by the film, proved truly indestructible. It's a story of a civilian who trusted physics against all odds. Of young kids who trusted him with their very lives. And of a film that even today makes audiences flinch with a collective gasp when the lake finally erupts. Watch the Dambusters tonight if you haven't recently, and when you do, listen closely for that quiet, almost sacred moment when Gibson counts down from 10. His voice tense, the engine noise muted, the moonlight glinting on polished wings. That hush, that profound silence before the plunge, isn't just the sound of a bomb dropping. It's the sound of immense courage leaning on groundbreaking science, of unwavering faith in an impossible idea, and the enduring legacy of 53 brave men who tragically never got to grow old. Thank you for watching.